Hey, it's Kevin DeWitt here. Welcome to another tip, trick, or technique of the week. This week we're going to look at the reverse reverb trick. This is a really good trick to learn and to put in your mixes, especially on things like vocals. But you're not limited to that. It can be done on pretty much anything you like. So we're going to first look at it on a vocal track. So the vocal track we have is this.
So the story goes.
And we might have that in a song somewhere along the line. Now there's different ways to do this depending on your DAW. So for instance, in my case here, we might have a simple way of doing it might be that we might have a reverb plugin. Like this one, for instance, in Cubase, Reverence. And we could find a really big effect.
So the story goes.
So that's a pretty big reverb. And in this case here, we could just turn on reverse.
So the story goes.
And you're done. There's your reverse reverb effect. But you don't all have a plugin like this that has a reverse setting on it that can do that. So how do we do it a manual way? So we got to get rid of this plugin now. We're going to have no plugins on whatsoever. Now, what I'm going to do first off is I'm going to duplicate this track. And then what I'm going to do, because Cubase sees the same audio track as the same audio track, I'm going to actually bounce the selection so it creates a new audio file. Because what happens is if I don't do that, because it's the same audio file, even though I've duplicated, created another track, any changes I make on either of these audio files would have affected both, and that's not what I want. Okay, so let's say we want to just do that reverse reverb building into that first word there. So what we're going to do is, first off, I'm going to find the word.
So the story.
Now, it's not a great word there, but let's just say we break it there. So I'm going to get rid of that. I might delete it, whatever. I'm going to get rid of it. So we've got this. Okay. So you might want to clean it up a bit and do it a bit better than that, but let's start with that at the moment. And what I'm going to do is then we're going to place a reverb on here. We're just going to find one. Let's just go for Roomworks. Any plugin that you like, what you want to do is find one that you like and it's the sound, the reverb sound that you would like to hear. So you need to imagine what it would be. Now, generally what you're going to want to go for is something that's quite big and long. All right. And it's going to depend on how long you want that reverb to swell in. So I suggest that you just play it, have a listen. Now you want to check it out with a full mix or wet only. That's pretty long. Now you can obviously change the sound of it by changing EQs and things like that to get a different effect of how you want it to be. But let's say that's what we want. So we have our reverb there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select a range. And once I've selected a range, I might make it a bit longer actually. So I'm going to select a range. Okay, yep, select a range. And then what I'm going to do is, in this case here, I'm going to process it. Now, depending on your DAW, you might have to bounce it out or however you do it, freeze it, bounce it in place. It depends on your DAW. So in this case here, I'm actually going to go with render in place. So I'm going to check the settings and I want to have the channel setting. So in this case here, what that means is it's going to render in place, and it's going to include any effects, which would be the reverb, on the plugin. So once it does that, it creates a new audio file in Cubase at least. And if I solo that track, we now have this. And that's going to keep going till it fades out there. Once we have our audio track, now what we're going to do is we want to reverse it. So I'm going to again find the process, and in this case here we have a reverse. So again, depending on your DAW, there will be a way to reverse. You just need to find the settings. Now when we listen this time, so you can hear a nice, really big build up there. So let's move that up here. But it obviously chops off there. So what do we do there? Well, what we do is we now want to take our original audio. So here's our original.
So the story goes.
And what we want to do is we want to find the nice spot here to place it between the two. So what we're going to do is let's just bring the two together. We want to find where we need to join them. Okay, that's probably a little late, so let's bring it in a bit more.
So the story goes.
That's not bad. So you just want to play with the placement of it with the waveforms to see the right place.
So the
and then once you get the right place, then what we're going to do is just to clean it up a bit, I'm going to bring that back there, and I might do a bit of a fade on there, a little bit of a fade on there, just so they come together a bit nicer. And then when you've got your whole song playing, you know, and you're coming into a big chorus, you might come along here. Now you might make this a bit shorter because that is a bit long, but again, fade it in.
So the story goes.
And that's it. It's as simple as that. And as long as you can work out the process to reverse and to bounce your audio with the reverb effect on, and like I said, you can tweak this to your desire however you want. You can make it as short or as long as you want. You can cut it back to that.
So the story goes.
And then you do it again on the next phrase. So it might say it there, and then again you'll do another swell into the next phrase. You can hear how good that is because the texture and the power that adds, especially coming into a chorus. If you add that to, you know, you don't want to add it to everything. You need to be subtle with it. It needs to match and it needs to suit the song. Obviously, that's the ideal thing. It needs to suit the song. But you want to have this technique under your belt so that when you are doing some mixes and you think, okay, we just need something powerful to add to this track, that's exactly what you can do. You can just bring that in like that. Now, I've done this effect on other things like guitars, and you can do it on drums. You can do it on anything. Anything that you can get that nice big reverb and you want it to swell in before it. So again, just to listen to it, if you were playing this in a song, you come along and this would be.
So the story goes.
You might say, yeah, that sounds great, but geez, I wish something built up to come into that.
So the story goes.
Adds a lot more power to it, a lot more importance to it, and it just sucks you straight into that vocal. And especially depending on the lyrics, if you have really powerful lyrics, this can be a really great trick. You know, listen, and now you know what, if you haven't heard it before, and this is the first time you've heard this effect, like shown and listened to, check out some songs and see if you can hear this effect, because you might hear it very subtly. You might hear massive ones like that, Or you might even hear very short ones that maybe sound a bit more like this.
So the story.
And that might happen quite often through a mix, whatever. So you can adjust that to whatever you like. And like I said, you can pick any type of reverb you want. You can even place effects on that reverb if you want. There's nothing wrong with that. You could put a flanger on there, phaser, mix it up, create some interesting sounds there, and really get something powerful and unique. So hopefully this has been helpful, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next video.